Oh, can you believe it? My name's Emily Carter, and just a few months ago, I was standing on that grand stage at the University of Washington, clutching my master's degree in business administration, the crowd's applause ringing in my ears like a victory anthem. At 28, that moment should have been the pinnacle of joy, right? A milestone I'd poured nearly a decade of sweat, tears, and late-night study sessions into achieving. But oh, how bittersweet it was. That shining moment was dimmed by an ache in my heart, a void where the cheers of my family should have been. Where were they? The people who should have been my biggest fans, my parents, Richard and Linda Carter, and my sister Ashley, were nowhere to be found. Growing up, I learned my place in our household early on. I was the one who stepped back, who swallowed my pride to keep the peace, who was forever measured against the dazzling Ashley, my sister, 3 years younger and the undeniable star of our parents' world. We lived in a quaint coastal town in Oregon, the kind of place where secrets travel faster than the morning fog through every cafe and corner store. To the neighbors, we were the postcard-perfect family, weren't we? Dad ran the town's trusty hardware store, Mom worked at the city library, and our two-story wooden house, with its blooming flower baskets and Christmas lights twinkling well into February, looked like it belonged in a storybook. But behind that charming facade, a stark, painful imbalance that no one outside our walls ever saw. Ashley, oh, she was the golden child, cherished like a fragile treasure the world might shatter. When she wanted dance lessons, didn't my parents rush to hire a private instructor? And when she dreamed of jetting off to Europe to broaden her horizons, didn't they buy her plane tickets without a second thought? Me, though? I was fed a different story. "Money's hard to come by, Emily," they'd say. "You've got to be independent to appreciate what you have. You can't always lean on us." So, at 16, there I was, slinging plates at a roadside cafe, saving every hard-earned dollar for textbooks and tuition, while Ashley never once worried about her next meal or whim. Can you imagine that? For years, I told myself it was just their way of toughening me up, making me resilient. But as time passed, the truth hit me like a cold wave. This wasn't some thoughtful parenting strategy. It was a choice that never favored me. I'll never forget my undergraduate graduation. My parents showed up almost an hour late. Why? Because Ashley needed a new performance costume, of course. They snapped a few rushed photos, barely glancing at my diploma, and slipped out before the ceremony even wrapped up. And when I shared the thrilling news of my acceptance into the MBA program at the University of Washington, Dad just nodded, his voice flat. "Good, Emily, but don't expect us to pay for it." Huh. So, I did what I always did. I handled it myself. Scholarships, part-time jobs, extra marketing, consulting gigs for small businesses. I juggled it all, balancing a full-time course load with over 40 hours of work each week for 2 grueling years. Graduation day arrived, and deep down, I knew they wouldn't show. Those seats I'd reserved for my family? Empty, just as I'd feared. But as I stood on the lawn afterward, laughing with friends and snapping photos under the Seattle sun, my phone buzzed with a call that changed everything. Can you guess who it was? Mr. Samuel Pierce, my maternal grandparents' longtime attorney, his voice deep and steady through the line. "Emily, your grandparents left their entire estate to you. We need to meet to discuss the details." I froze, my heart pounding, not because of the money. I didn't even know how much it was yet, but because I hadn't realized just how much my grandparents, Harold and Margaret Lewis, believed in me, loved me. Harold and Margaret were my sanctuary, the ones who shaped the best parts of who I am. Their seaside home, with its red brick walls, wide porch overlooking the crashing ocean, and a rose garden that burst into vibrant blooms every summer, was my haven. Whenever I felt lost, that's where I'd go. They lived simply but with such warmth, spending their days reading, tending their garden, and sharing stories of their youth in 1952, when our town was just a sleepy fishing village. In high school, I spent nearly every weekend there, hammering nails with Grandpa to mend fences, rolling out dough for Grandma's famous apple pies, and most importantly, listening. Listening, something I rarely got to do at home. In their final years, as their health faded, I was the one driving them to doctor's appointments, managing their banking, paying their bills, and tending to every little need. My parents and Ashley? They'd breeze in for Thanksgiving or Christmas, pose for a few social media photos, and vanish. So, when Mr. Samuel told me they'd left everything to me, I knew it wasn't favoritism. It was recognition, a quiet, powerful acknowledgement of the bond we'd built. A few days later, I sat in Mr. Samuel's cozy, wood-paneled office in the heart of town, my hands trembling as he slid a thick folder across his desk. "Your grandparents' estate is valued at about $1 million, he said, his voice calm but weighty, including their seaside home and their financial investments. They wanted you to have full control. Can you imagine that moment?" I sat there, speechless, a whirlwind of gratitude, love, and a tiny spark of fear swirling inside me. As I drove back to Seattle along the coastal road, the ocean's salty breeze weaving through my open window, I let it sink in. $1 million. It sounded like something out of a dream, didn't it? But the real treasure wasn't the money or the house. It was the memories. Those sunlit mornings on the red brick porch, the aroma of Grandma's coffee, Grandpa's hearty chuckle as he read the morning paper. Those were priceless. But here's the thing. I knew this dream wouldn't stay untouched for long. In my family, anything valuable was like a beacon, drawing unwanted attention. My parents had a knack for borrowing money or belongings with grand promises to repay promises that vanished as quickly as the cash. I still remember when I was a college freshman, my aunt handed them a hefty sum to invest in Dad's hardware store. 6 months later, the store hadn't changed a bit. The money was gone, and whenever my aunt brought it up, Mom would dodge or scold her for making a fuss about family money. Ashley, though, she never had to deal with that. Why would she? My parents had already decided everything was hers, her first car, her European adventure, even a Portland apartment they bought as an investment but let her live in rent-free. No questions asked, no input needed. So, the second I signed those inheritance documents with Mr. Samuel, I knew I had to act fast. Wait for my parents to find out? Oh, that would be a disaster. I reached out to an old law school friend who now worked at a top real estate law firm in Seattle. She connected me with Daniel Hart, a soft-spoken attorney in his 40s with eyes that caught every detail. We met at a bustling cafe near Capitol Hill, where he spread my file across the table, flipping through pages with a focused nod. "Emily," he said, his voice steady but urgent, "I've seen plenty of inheritance disputes, and if your family is anything like you've described, you need to lock this down now. An irrevocable trust is your best move." An irrevocable trust? What a lifeline! He explained how it worked. Once set up, the trust couldn't be changed or revoked by me, and the assets, house, investments, everything would be legally separate from my personal property. I'd be the trustee, calling the shots, but public records wouldn't tie the estate to my name. Genius, right? I gave him the green light on the spot, and for the next 3 weeks, we were a whirlwind of action. Daniel teamed up with an asset management company to create an LLC owned by the trust. Every utility for the house electricity, water, taxes, insurance was switched to the LLC's name. The property title? Updated, stamped, and locked away in the law firm's safe, with copies stashed in a Seattle bank, far from my parents' reach in that gossipy coastal town. My grandparents' bank accounts were closed, their funds swept into a new trust account, secured with 2-factor authentication that only Daniel and I could access. I'll never forget the moment I signed the final document, my pen gliding under the words, "Irrevocable Living Trust Agreement." It was like sealing a promise, not just to protect what my grandparents had given me, but to honor the love and trust they'd placed in me. Didn't that feel like a victory? A quiet, powerful stand for everything I'd worked for, everything I'd been denied, and yet, as I drove away, the ocean stretching endlessly beside me, I couldn't shake the question, what happens when my family finds out? Oh, what a tangled web we weave, right? My name's Emily Carter, and let me tell you, the past few months have been a whirlwind of relief and razor-sharp caution. Like I've just locked the final bolt on a door that's kept out hands that grabbed too much from me before. At 28, I thought I'd be basking in the glow of my master's degree from the University of Washington, but instead, I'm guarding a secret so precious it could unravel everything. My grandparents, Harold and Margaret Lewis, left me their entire estate, $1 million, including their seaside home with its red brick walls and blooming rose garden. Can you imagine the weight of that? Not just the money, but the love, the trust they placed in me. But with my family, my parents, Richard and Linda, and my sister Ashley, lurking like shadows, I knew I had to protect it. And fast. When my parents called, their voices dripping with that half-concerned, half-probing tone, asking, "So, Emily, when are you moving into your grandparents' house?" I just smiled through the phone, my heart racing. "Oh, I'm still swamped in Seattle," I said, keeping my cards close. And when Ashley texted, bold as ever, "Have you thought about selling the house and splitting the cash? I need capital for a nail salon with my friend," I fired back a single word. "No." Short, sweet, and oh so vague. I let them think I hadn't touched a thing, that I was still the same old Emily they'd always underestimated, too busy to notice their schemes. Why stir the pot when I could keep them complacent? Every weekend, I'd drive back to that quiet coastal town in Oregon, the ocean's salty breeze wrapping around me as I mowed the lawn and watered Grandma's roses. Stepping into that house, with its creaky porch and memories of apple pies and Grandpa's stories, felt like a warm hug. But peace? Oh, that was fleeting. A quiet warning buzzed in my mind. They'll come for it, Emily, sooner or later. So I held my secret tighter than ever. I told Daniel Hart, my sharp-eyed attorney, to make sure no one got a whiff of the trust's details. All bills were paid online, leaving no paper trail for prying eyes. I even installed a discreet security camera system, hidden so cleverly you'd never spot it. Can you believe I went that far? If anyone dropped by unannounced, I'd know in a heartbeat. With everything locked down, an irrevocable trust, an LLC, utilities in the trust's name, the house title safely stashed in a Seattle bank vault, I could finally breathe a little easier. That legal wall I'd built? Impenetrable. No forged documents or sob stories could crack it. But here's the kicker. That wall only made my family hungrier. They'd climb higher, dig deeper, wouldn't they? And I'd be ready when they did. For the first few months after the trust was set, things were eerily quiet. No frantic calls, no text messages bursting with exclamation points, no surprise visits from my parents claiming they were just passing by. But that silence? It wasn't peace. It was like a still lake hiding dangerous currents beneath. In our short phone calls, Mom would drop these casual bombs, heavy with meaning. "It'd only be fair if your grandparents' house went to both you and Ashley, don't you think?" she'd say, or, "Ashley has so many memories there, too. You wouldn't want her to feel left out, would you?" I'd just hum, giving them nothing to grip onto, letting them stew in my silence. Ashley, though, was sneakier. She started popping by with flimsy excuses, bringing Mom's freshly baked cookies, dropping off random items she claimed Mom left at Grandma and Grandpa's, or just passing through from Portland. But her eyes? They weren't on me. They roamed the bookshelves, lingered on the framed photo of my grandparents, and fixed on the wooden cabinet where I kept unimportant papers. Unimportant to me, maybe, but gold to someone sniffing for proof of ownership. Did she really think I'd leave sensitive documents lying around? I never left her alone in that living room, not for a second. When Ashley casually asked, "Do you still have the house papers?" Just curious, for fun. I'd flash a smile and pivot the conversation like a pro. "Oh, remember that time we tried Grandma's pie recipe?" I'd say, steering her away. Meanwhile, my parents, who'd barely noticed me for years, suddenly got way too interested. One Friday evening, Mom called, her voice syrupy sweet. "Come home for dinner, Emily. We need a family talk, nothing's more important." When I arrived, the table was a spectacle roast beef, red wine, a steaming apple pie like something out of a holiday movie. Too perfect, right? Over dinner, they tossed around phrases like managing the inheritance together and preserving your grandparents' memories for everyone. They never said it outright, but their message was clear. That house, that money, in their eyes, it was family property, not mine. I nodded, smiled, and played the part of the docile daughter, letting them think I hadn't made a single move to protect what was mine. Then there was Dad calling with that fake cheery tone. "Need help with the house, Emily? I know some guys who could fix the roof, repaint the porch, check the wiring safety first." "Oh, please." I knew it was a ploy to get their people inside, sniffing around. "Thanks, Dad," I'd say, all sweetness. "But I'm learning property management. I've got this." He'd pause, then chuckle, half joking, half serious. "Just hope you can hold on to it or you'll be calling us for help." I'd laugh lightly, never taking the bait. But I was watching them closer than ever. Ashley's social media posts started getting cryptic vague rants about family fairness and sharing what's right, paired with sneaky photos of the house, snapped from a distance during her visits. My parents, meanwhile, were cozying up to relatives they hadn't spoken to in years, building a quiet network. My aunt let slip that Mom had been whining to anyone who'd listen. "Emily's so young, she needs guidance to not squander what her grandparents left." Guidance? Ha! It was a plan, plain as day. They were gearing up for something big, weren't they? Biding their time, hunting for a legal loophole or a sob story to sway the town's sympathy. But I wasn't just sitting there. My silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. I kept my routine steady, driving to the house every weekend, sweeping the porch, tending the roses, all while memorizing every glance, every offhand comment, every subtle move they made. Let them think I was still the overworked student, too distracted to protect my interests. Let them think I was easy prey, because when they got cocky, they'd step closer, and that's when I'd have them right where I wanted them. Then came that morning, under a thin veil of clouds, the weak sunlight glinting off red and gold maple leaves scattered across the stone walkway. I stood there in my gray sweater, broom in hand, sweeping leisurely, the salty breeze and seagull cries weaving a fragile peace. The distant waves crashed, steady and soothing, until a low hum shattered the moment. A black SUV rolled into the driveway, tires crunching gravel. My heart skipped. My parents' car! Before I could even process why they were here, the passenger door flew open and out stepped Ashley, her golden hair tied back, her face lit with a triumphant glow, like she'd already won. Mom followed, clutching a slim folder, and Dad climbed out slowly, wearing that smile he saved for big announcements. Trouble was coming, wasn't it? "Hey, sis," Ashley chirped, striding toward me like we were about to share the best news ever. "This house is in my name now. Mom and Dad want you to move out this week so I can renovate and sell it. I've got a buyer lined up." Her words tumbled out, fast and final, like the decision was made long ago and I was just being told. My grip tightened on the broom, the cool wood grounding me, but I kept my face calm, unreadable. Dad stepped forward, holding out papers stamped with blue ink, his voice smooth. "We've been working with a lawyer, Emily. Turns out, your grandparents' will had a section that wasn't updated after Grandma passed." My stomach twisted, but I didn't flinch. A lawyer? An outdated will? Oh, they thought they had me cornered, didn't they? But that trust, those locked-down assets, that impenetrable wall I'd built with Daniel, they didn't know about any of it, and I wasn't about to let them think they'd won. Not yet. Oh, can you believe the nerve of some people? Here I was, Emily Carter, standing on the porch of my grandparents' seaside home, heart pounding like a drum, gripping that broom like it was my lifeline. At 28, I thought I'd seen it all, but nothing could have prepared me for the audacity of my family, my parents, Richard and Linda, and my sister Ashley, thinking they could swoop in and snatch what my grandparents, Harold and Margaret Lewis, entrusted to me. A $1 million estate, their red brick haven with its rose garden and ocean views, all secured in an irrevocable trust I'd carefully built with my attorney, Daniel Hart. But there they were, striding up the driveway like they owned the place, armed with flimsy papers and fake confidence. Did they really think I'd just hand it over? It all started that morning, under a veil of coastal mist, the air tangy with salt and the distant crash of waves. My parents' black SUV crunched into the gravel, and Ashley leapt out, her golden hair bouncing, her face glowing like she'd already won some grand prize. "Hey, sis," she chirped, as if we were about to share a cupcake, not my inheritance. "This house is in my name now. Mom and Dad want you to move out this week so I can renovate and sell it. I've got a buyer lined up. Can you imagine the gall?" Her words spilled out, fast and smug, like it was all decided. Dad stepped forward, waving a stack of papers with a suspicious blue stamp. "We've been working with a lawyer, Emily. Turns out, your grandparents' will had a section that wasn't updated after Grandma passed. Technically, the house should belong to both you and Ashley, but your grandfather accidentally left that part out. We fixed it and transferred ownership to Ashley. It's easier this way, right? You've got your place in Seattle." Mom nodded, her eyes all fake sincerity, like this was for my own good. "It's the most reasonable solution, Emily." "Oh, please." I scanned their so-called documents' shaky signatures, a seal that screamed forged, pages that looked like they'd been printed at a shady copy shop. Inside, I was dying to laugh, but I kept my cool, tilting my head with a thin smile. "Really?" I said, slow and calm, like I was commenting on the weather. Ashley blinked, thrown off by my lack of panic. "Yes, really," she snapped, recovering fast. "Don't worry, I'll handle everything. You can move your stuff out in a week. I'll hire people to clear the place for renovation. It'll be smooth sailing." "Smooth sailing? For who, exactly?" Dad chimed in, his voice dripping with fake concern. "Emily, this house needs constant upkeep, and Ashley's got the time and a solid plan. You're swamped with work in Seattle. Holding on to this place will just weigh you down." Mom jumped in, all sweetness. "Besides, Ashley will share some of the sale money with you, won't you, Ashley?" Ashley nodded, her eyes glinting with victory. Oh, how generous of her. I let the silence stretch, watching their confidence grow, knowing they thought they had me cornered, but I'd seen this coming months ago. I knew they'd show up with a half-baked story and dodgy papers, thinking I'd cave like the old Emily, the one who always stepped aside to keep the peace. Not this time. I leaned the broom against the porch, wiped my hands on my jeans, and said evenly, "I've heard you." No mom, no dad, no sister, and that made Ashley's brow twitch, though she kept her smile plastered on. "Good," she said, relief creeping into her voice. "We'll be back soon to get started." "I'll call the moving company today." Dad folded the papers, tucking them into his jacket like the deal was done, and they left after some awkward small talk, their SUV vanishing down the road, leaving a faint whiff of exhaust in the salty air. I stood there, heart steady, a strange calm washing over me. Not because I was giving up, oh, no way, but because I knew the real battle was just beginning. They thought I was still the pushover daughter, the one who'd sacrifice everything for family. But I'd changed. Inside the house, I poured a cup of tea, sank into Grandma's old armchair by the window, and fired off a message to Daniel. They came exactly as expected. Prepare for the next step. For months, I'd been guarding this secret like a fortress. When they'd called, probing about the house, I'd dodged with vague answers. "Oh, I'm still busy in Seattle." When Ashley texted, fishing for a cut, "Have you thought about selling and splitting the money? I need it for a nail salon." I'd replied with a curt no, letting them think I hadn't done a thing, that the estate was just sitting there, ripe for the taking. Why tip my hand? Every weekend, I'd drive to this coastal town, tending the roses, mowing the lawn, breathing in the memories of Grandpa's stories and Grandma's coffee. But peace? That was a mirage. A voice in my head kept whispering, "They're coming, Emily. Be ready." So, I'd locked everything down, no paper trail, bills paid online, a hidden security camera system watching every corner. That irrevocable trust, the LLC, the title tucked away in a Seattle bank vault, it was my shield. They could forge all the papers they wanted. They'd never breach that wall. But oh, they were relentless. Those quiet months after the trust was set? Too quiet. like a lake hiding treacherous currents. Mom's casual comments on calls. It'd be fair to share the house with Ashley, don't you think? Or, she has memories there too, were laced with intent. I'd just hum, giving them nothing. Ashley was slyer, dropping by with cookies or random items Mom left behind. Her eyes scanning the bookshelves, the photo of my grandparents, the cabinet where I kept meaningless papers. "Still got the house papers?" she'd ask, all innocent. "Just curious." Curious, my foot. I'd redirect. "Hey, remember Grandma's pie recipe?" And never left her alone in that room. Then there were my parents, suddenly so interested after years of neglect. That fancy dinner roast beef, wine, apple pie, screamed setup. "Let's manage the inheritance together," they'd said, "for everyone's benefit." Sure, for their benefit. Dad's offers to help with the house roof repairs, wiring checks were just ploys to get inside. "I've got it, Dad," I'd say, brushing him off. His pause, then that half-joking jab. "Hope you can hold on to it or you'll need us." I'd laugh, never biting. Ashley's cryptic social media posts about family fairness, paired with sneaky photos of the house, and Mom's chats with relatives about guiding me, it all screamed one thing. They were plotting, waiting for their moment. That moment came 2 days after their driveway stunt. The mist hung low, the sea's scent sharp as I cleared the living room table, setting out the blue-bound trust files, their red seals gleaming. On the porch, I'd placed an extra chair for Mr. Mark Harris, a county property records officer, his navy suit crisp, his silver-streaked hair neat. At 10 a.m., the rumble of a moving truck broke the quiet, led by that black SUV. Ashley bounded out, all designer tracksuit and smugness, phone ready to capture her triumph. Dad's smile was half control, half reassurance. Mom pointed the movers to start unloading. They laughed, so sure of themselves, until they saw us. I stood, arms crossed, beside Mark, his file bearing the trust's name. He pulled out his ID, voice steady. "Am I speaking with Richard, Linda, and Ashley Carter?" They froze, confusion flickering. Dad nodded, wary. "Yes, what's this about?" Mark's words hit like a gavel. "This house was placed in an irrevocable trust on April 12th last year, with Emily Carter as sole trustee. Any transfer of ownership after that, including your documents, is legally void and constitutes fraud." Ashley's smile collapsed, her blinks frantic. Mom's grip on her papers tightened. Dad stepped forward, voice sharp. "Fraud? We just fixed an error in the will." Mark didn't flinch. "Any amendment without the trustee's authorization or county process is invalid. Your out-of-state documents and unlicensed notary seal could trigger a criminal investigation." The movers shifted, one coughing, then retreating to the truck. I met Ashley's glare, my voice low. "Family doesn't forge papers to steal my home. Family doesn't hire movers to clear my things without consent." Mark continued, "I'll file a report and a warning. Return with intent to take possession and will involve the police and DA." He handed Dad a notice. They lingered, hoping I'd crack, but my steady gaze held firm. Dad snapped, "Let's go." Ashley spat, "You'll regret this." I just smiled, sharp and silent as they fled, the movers scrambling to pack up. The gravel drive fell quiet, and I exhaled, the sea's rhythm steadying me. The game wasn't over, but I'd won this round, hadn't I? Oh, my heart was racing like a storm-charged wave. Standing on the porch of my grandparents' seaside home, the ocean's steady rhythm crashing in the distance, I watched Mr. Mark Harris, the county property records officer, close his file with a snap. "They'll try again, Emily," he said, handing me a copy. "But today you showed them it won't be easy." I nodded, gratitude swelling in my chest as I walked him to his car, the salty breeze tangling my hair. The peace of that red brick house, with its rose garden and memories of Grandma's coffee and Grandpa's laughter, felt unshaken, but for how long? I knew this was just the opening round, didn't I? My family, Mom, Dad, and Ashley weren't done scheming. What would they try next? 3 days later, back in Seattle, I was trying to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting to that confrontation. Ashley's smug, "This house is in my name now," and Dad's fake concern about the house being a burden still stung. Then, as I stepped into my apartment that Wednesday afternoon, my eyes caught a yellow envelope by the door, its crisp corner stamped with a Portland law firm's name and my own, Emily Carter, typed neatly below. My stomach twisted. A formal demand for settlement? Really? I sank onto a kitchen chair, the heavy paper crackling as I read. The opening paragraph hit like a slap. Mom's attorney claimed she was acting on behalf of the family's interests, accusing me of shirking my moral and emotional obligations by not sharing my grandparents' $1 million estate. The demands? Outrageous! $150,000 for Mom's emotional distress, joint ownership of the house with Ashley, and a monthly stipend to ensure the family's long-term well-being. They claimed my keeping the estate had damaged mother-daughter and sisterly bonds. Can you believe the audacity? I was torn between laughing and screaming. Exhausted yet oddly amused, I grabbed my phone and scrolled to Sonia Patel, the estate attorney Daniel had introduced me to when I locked down the trust. Petite, soft-spoken but sharp as a tack, Sonia was my secret weapon. I booked a meeting for the next morning at her sleek downtown Seattle office, clutching the letter and my trust documents. Sonia skimmed the pages, her eyes narrowing, then looked up with a sly smile. "Emily, they're playing intimidation games. They think you'll panic. What do you want to do?" Her confidence was infectious. "Let's hit back," I said. And oh, did she deliver! Within 2 days, Sonia drafted a cease and desist letter, its tone polite but razor-sharp, affirming the trust's ironclad legality, declaring Mom and Ashley had no claim, and warning that further harassment would mean legal action. Sent via certified mail to Mom's attorney and her Oregon home, it was a line in the sand. But Sonia wasn't done. Oh, no! Using Mr. Mark's file and my account of the moving truck fiasco, Sonia dug into the fake documents they'd waved at me. That notary stamp? Non-existent in Oregon's database. The filing? Traced to a shady out-of-state online service flagged for forged property records. And the filer's name? Ashley Carter. My own sister. My heart sank, a mix of relief and cold fury. Relief, because we had proof this wasn't a misunderstanding but deliberate fraud. Fury, because Ashley, who once stood beside me at our high school graduation, had signed her name to steal what my grandparents entrusted to me. "With this evidence," Sonia said, her voice steely, "if they push further, we'll hand it to the DA's fraud division. The documents will speak for themselves. I left her office with the cease and desist letter sent, a preliminary investigative report in hand, and a fire in my chest. For the first time, I wasn't just defending, I was fighting back. Didn't that feel like a shift? But oh, they weren't going to slink away quietly, were they? A week after Sonia's letter, I noticed a shift. Relatives who hadn't called in years suddenly reached out. An aunt in California texted, "You okay, Emily? Is it true what Linda's saying?" A cousin I hadn't spoken to in 3 years called, his voice awkward, mumbling about keeping family ties. What was going on? Then my cousin Megan, the most straight-shooting person in our family, texted, "Emily, I need to see you ASAP. Aunt Linda's talking a lot about you. It's bad." We met at a cozy Olympia cafe, both driving hours to get there. Megan was already seated in a quiet corner, laptop open, sticky notes scattered like battle plans. "Listen to this," she said, pressing play on a recording. Mom's voice, feigning exhaustion, filled the air. "I hate to say it, but Emily took advantage of my father's weakness to change the will. He wasn't of sound mind, everyone knows that. I think she manipulated the legal process in ways he didn't understand." Megan paused, her eyes locked on mine. "This is one of 12 voice messages I got this week. She's got a group chat with cousins spreading this story." My blood ran hot, then cold. Mom wasn't just after the house or money, she was attacking me, painting me as the greedy granddaughter who tricked her frail grandparents. Megan scrolled through the group chat, messages piling on. "Emily's always been selfish. Grandma and Grandpa wanted it split evenly. She tricked him into signing papers he didn't read. Lies, all of it. I looked at Megan, my voice steady but sharp. Do you believe this? She shook her head fast. No way, Emily. I know you, but she's relentless, and the relatives who don't see you often, they're starting to buy it. Once this family latches onto a story, it's like pulling teeth to change their minds. Her words hit like a warning siren. Driving back, the coastal road blurring past, I realized this wasn't about $150,000 or the house anymore. It was a campaign to ruin my name, to isolate me, to make my career in Seattle, where trust is everything, vulnerable. Mom had done this before, hadn't she? Targeting family members until they were cornered, shamed into submission with gossip and guilt. I'd seen her tactics as a kid, her borrowing money from relatives, never repaying, then dodging with charm or scolding. Ashley's role was subtler but just as calculated, her visits to the house, eyes scanning for documents, her social media posts about fairness with sneaky photos of the property, and that dinner, with its roast beef and apple pie, all to push family unity while implying the estate was theirs. A setup. Even Dad's helpful offers to fix the roof or check the wiring were just ploys to get inside. But I'd been ready, hadn't I? The trust, the LLC, the hidden cameras, the bills paid online, no paper trail, no access. When they'd rolled up with that moving truck, fake papers in hand, I'd stood firm with Mr. Mark, watching their confidence crumble. And now, this letter, these lies, they thought I'd cave under pressure, didn't they? That night, I called Sonia, spilling everything Megan had shown me, the recordings, the group chat, the smear campaign. Sonia was quiet for a long moment, then her voice cut through. Emily, this is a reputational attack. We're not just defending your assets anymore, we're protecting your credibility. My heart sank, but I felt a spark of resolve. Mom and Ashley thought they could bully me into submission, turn the family against me, make me the villain. But I wasn't that quiet girl anymore, was I? The one who worked nights at a cafe to pay for college while Ashley got Europe trips and cars? The one who sat alone at graduations, watching empty seats where my family should have been? No, I was the Emily who'd built a fortress around my grandparents' legacy, who'd outsmarted their schemes with Daniel and Sonia's help. As I hung up, the ocean's rhythm echoed in my mind, steady and unyielding. They'd come at me with forged documents, fake tears, and now vicious lies. But I was ready, wasn't I? With Sonia's cease and desist, the fraud evidence, and Megan's warning, I had the upper hand. They thought they could wear me down, but every move they made only sharpened my focus. The house, the roses, the memories of my grandparents' love, they were mine to protect, and protect them I would, no matter how hard they tried to tear me down. Let them come again. I'd be waiting. Oh, can you believe the weight of it all? Here I was, Emily Carter, staring down a fight I never asked for, my heart pounding like the ocean waves against the cliffs of my grandparents' seaside home. At 28, I thought I'd be savoring the triumph of my master's degree, but instead, I was battling to protect the $1 million estate complete with that red brick house and blooming rose garden that my grandparents, Harold and Margaret Lewis, entrusted to me. My parents, Richard and Linda, and my sister Ashley, thought they could outmaneuver me with forged documents and vicious lies, but I had a fortress, an irrevocable trust, a sharp attorney named Sonia Patel, and a fire in my soul to honor my grandparents' legacy. When Sonia laid out the plan, her voice like a blade, I knew we were turning the tables. "You've got gold, Emily," she said, pointing to Megan's messages, recordings, and group chat screenshots. "This proves malicious intent. Could I really take them down?" That night, past midnight, I sat alone in my Seattle apartment, the city's hum a faint backdrop to my racing thoughts. This wasn't just about a house or money anymore, was it? It was a war for the truth, for who'd be believed and who'd be painted as the traitor. If I let Mom and Ashley control the narrative, they'd twist my grandparents' memory, tarnishing their honor forever. No way was I letting that happen. Sonia and I agreed. Every scrap of evidence, screenshots, audio files, names, dates, times would be documented. No detail was too small. The next morning, I was in her downtown office, sunlight glinting off manila folders strewn across a dark wooden table. Sonia, her glasses slipping down her nose, typed furiously, her laptop open to a draft titled Statement of Facts. "We're laying it all bare, Emily," she said, her voice sharp. "No embellishments, just the truth." We started with the indisputable, the dates of my grandparents' passing, the will's contents, the timeline of the trust's creation, and the notarized transfer documents. Then came the fraud. Oh, what a mess they'd made. Photos of Ashley's fake notary seal, a state database confirming it didn't exist, and records showing the filing came from a shady out-of-state online service under Ashley Carter's name. Can you imagine the nerve? That $150,000 demand letter from Mom's lawyer claiming emotional distress and demanding joint ownership and a monthly stipend? It was so blatant it screamed desperation. Then the smear campaign. I handed Sonia Megan's screenshots of the group chat where cousins piled on with lies. Emily's selfish. She tricked Grandpa. The estate should be split. The audio of Mom's voice, feigning weariness. Emily took advantage of my father's weakness when he wasn't of sound mind, made my blood boil. Sonia transcribed every word, her pen flying. "We're presenting this exactly as it is," she said. "Dates, times, sources. No one can deny this." 3 days later, we had a 12-page statement of facts and supporting evidence. The Carter Family Trust dispute, printed on Sonia's law firm letterhead. My opening email was short but firm. "To my aunts, uncles, and cousins, I know stories have been circulating about me and my grandparents' estate. Before you judge, read the truth with verifiable evidence. After today, I won't discuss this again. Believe me, I'm grateful. Don't, and that's your choice, but at least it's based on facts." We sent it to 27 email addresses and 4 phone numbers, everyone Mom had roped into her smear campaign via Sonia's office email for legal weight. When the sent ping sounded, my heart leapt with relief and anticipation. Had I just moved a critical chess piece? The responses flooded in faster than I expected. 6 messages and 3 missed calls within 2 hours. A cousin called, voice heavy. "Emily, I'm sorry." I believed Aunt Linda because she kept repeating it. But this evidence? There's no arguing with it. An aunt emailed, "Thank you for this." I had the wrong impression. "I'm sorry." Even a cousin close to Ashley texted, "Now I get why you stayed quiet. Stay strong." Oh, what a rush. Not everyone bought it, of course. 3 relatives from Dad's side fired back, accusing me of manipulating the story or fabricating documents, certified notary and county records. Fabricated? Really? But for every doubter, 5 others sent support. The most surprising was Aunt Robin, who'd treated Ashley like her own daughter. Her voice trembled over the phone. "Emily, I'm ashamed. I said things about you, believed your mother. I read everything and I don't know how to apologize enough." I didn't scold her, just said, "I hope you understand why I had to do this." The call ended in a soft, healing silence. That evening, as street lamps glowed against the ocean's reflection, I knew I'd broken their psychological siege. Mom and Ashley wanted to isolate me, pressure me to cave, but I'd taken back the narrative. What would they do now? Back off or double down? They didn't retreat, did they? Their smear campaign wasn't just about the house or that $150,000. It was about eroding my support, making me the villain to force a compromise. If I wanted to end this, I had to hit where it hurt. Ashley's shiny new real estate career. One evening, in my home office, the laptop's glow illuminating the thick case file I'd built, I felt a surge of resolve. There it was. The forged property transfer with Ashley's name, the invalid notary seal, the state's verification it didn't exist, the shady online service flagged for fraud, Sonia's cease and desist, and statutes on property fraud. Ashley's new job at Horizons Land, a Portland real estate firm obsessed with its ethical Instagram image, was her pride and joy. Their website boasted a contact form for reporting fraud, promising swift action. Oh, this was my chance. I drafted a precise email. To the Ethics and Compliance Department at Horizons Land, I'm submitting evidence regarding your employee, Ashley Carter. This file contains verifiable proof of real estate fraud, including falsified documents and an invalid notary seal in an attempt to unlawfully obtain property valued at over $1 million. This concerns your company's reputation and legal obligations. Sincerely, Emily Carter. I attached the indexed PDF, used an electronic signature, and sent it from a two-factor secured email. My heart thumped not from fear, but from knowing I'd set something big in motion. I expected a week's wait, but 2 days later at my Seattle office my phone buzzed. A contact from the Oregon State Real Estate Association. Emily, word is Ashley Carter's personnel file at Horizons Land has been suspended. Suspended? Already? My mind raced back to the porch confrontation when Ashley strutted up with that moving truck, claiming the house was hers. Mom and Dad backed her with fake papers, but Mr. Mark Harris, with his Navy suit and red-sealed trust file, shut them down. Any transfer is void. This is fraud. Their faces. Ashley's fading smile, Mom's tight lips, Dad's sharp, "What fraud?" flashed in my memory. I'd stood firm, backed by the trust I'd built with Daniel, the LLC, the hidden cameras, and no paper trail. Even earlier, their sneaky moves, Mom's "it's only fair to share" on calls, Ashley's visits, scanning for documents, that staged dinner with family unity talk couldn't break me. Megan's recordings and screenshots proved their lies. And now Ashley's career was on the line. Had I turned the tide? This wasn't over, though, was it? Mom and Ashley might escalate, spinning new stories or digging for another angle. But I was ready. The house, the roses, the memories of Grandpa's chuckle and Grandma's apple pies, they were mine to protect. Sonia's evidence, Megan's support, and my own resolve were my armor. Let them try again. I'd be waiting, wouldn't I? Oh, can you imagine the weight lifting off my shoulders? I'm Emily Carter, and at 28, I thought I'd be basking in the glow of my master's degree. But instead, I was locked in a battle to protect the $1 million estate. My grandparents, Harold and Margaret Lewis, left me. Their red brick seaside home, its rose garden bursting with color, and memories of their love. My family, Mom, Dad, and Ashley, tried to tear it away with forged documents and vicious lies, but I'd built a fortress with my attorney, Sonia Patel, and an irrevocable trust. When Ashley's real estate firm, Horizons Land, got my email with proof of her fraud fake notary seals, shady filings, the works, they didn't just fire her. They sent the case to the state licensing board. Can you believe it? 2 days later, Sonia called, her voice brimming with satisfaction. Emily, the county's filed charges for attempted property fraud and forged documents based on our evidence to Mr. Mark Harris. My heart raced as I leaned back in my Seattle office chair, rain streaking the window. Those charges landed at Mom's Oregon doorstep attempted fraud and forgery, stains that could ruin Ashley's career for good. Did they really think they could outsmart me? That evening, my phone lit up with 11 missed calls from Ashley's number. No texts, no voicemails, just relentless ringing, like she could bully me into answering. Oh, please. I muted it, set it face down, and let the rain's rhythm drown out her desperation. The next day, Ashley's Instagram screamed pettiness. A black square with white text. Some people will destroy your life and pretend they're the victim. Directed at me? Obviously. But I didn't flinch. The people who mattered, cousins, aunts, Megan, with her damning recordings, had seen the truth. Screenshots of Mom's group chat lies, audio of her claiming I manipulated Grandpa, and certified documents proving the trust's legality. Those who didn't believe me? I didn't need them. Hadn't I fought too hard for this? 2 months later, the storm seemed to quiet. No more late-night calls, no more attorney letters, no more gossip trickling through relatives. Was it really over? Then, on a Monday morning, as I sipped coffee and checked my mailbox, a thick white envelope from a Salem law firm stopped me cold. Its cold, formal tone hit like a slap. Mrs. Linda Carter hereby withdraws all legal claims to the Carter Family Trust and the property at 1254 Seaview Bluff Lane, Rockport, Oregon. She requests no further contact with Miss Emily Carter except where legally necessary. I exhaled, folding the letter and tucking it into my file cabinet. No gloating, no victory dance, just closure. A door slammed shut, and I wasn't about to pry it open. Did they finally realize they'd lost? That afternoon, I drove to the coastal town, the gravel road crunching under my tires, maple trees ablaze in red and gold, heralding autumn's arrival. The sunset painted the ocean amber, waves shimmering like a mirror. Unlocking the heavy wooden door, I stepped into the house, its silence wrapping around me like a warm blanket. The faint scent of lavender from a diffuser mingled with the aged wood, and as I trailed my fingers along the red brick walls, past the black and white photo of my grandparents, Grandpa's voice echoed in my mind. "Protect what's worth keeping, Emily. Don't expect anyone else to do it." Back then, I thought he meant the house. But now? Oh, it was so much more honor, peace, my right to my own life. In the living room, the last light of day spilled across the worn wool rug, and the noise of the past months, Mom's accusations, Ashley's forged papers, the demand for $150,000, the smear campaign melted away. I wasn't the daughter who bit her tongue for family anymore, was I? No more guilt for setting boundaries with people who saw me as a resource to exploit. I stood taller, steadier, calmer than ever. Some might say I was too harsh, that family is family no matter what. But my grandparents knew better, didn't they? Love doesn't mean letting people hurt you endlessly, setting boundaries, protecting your worth. That's not selfish. It's breaking the cycle of exploitation, building a life on respect. On the porch, the evening wind whispered, the waves' steady rhythm like the house's heartbeat. I smiled, not because I'd won, but because I'd kept my promise. I'd saved not just the house, but myself whole, unowned, undefined by anyone else's greed. "I kept it safe," I whispered, as if Grandma and Grandpa could hear me through the stars. The fight had been brutal, hadn't it? From Ashley's moving truck stunt, waving fake papers, to Mom's lies about my selfishness in group chats, to that staged dinner pushing family unity. But I'd outmaneuvered them, the trust, the LLC, hidden cameras, no paper trail. Sonia's cease and desist, Megan's evidence, and my strike at Ashley's career had turned the tide. The ocean stretched dark and endless before me, and in its quiet power, I found my own. I was free, wasn't I? Oh, my heart aches for Emily, yet it soars with admiration for her strength. Her story screams a truth we often shy away from. Family isn't always a safe haven. How crushing it must be to face betrayal from those who should love you most. Emily's parents and sister, with their lies and greed, tried to rob her of not just her grandparents' legacy, but her dignity, her peace. It's infuriating. How could they twist love into manipulation, using guilt and gossip to corner her? Yet, Emily's fight to protect her grandparents' gift, that seaside home filled with memories of unconditional love, fills me with hope. She didn't just guard a house. She reclaimed her worth, didn't she? This hits home because it exposes a raw truth about boundaries. Society often preaches family is everything. But what happens when family exploits you? Emily's courage to draw a line through legal battles, silence in that final defiant email shows that love doesn't mean enduring abuse. It's a wake-up call. We need to normalize setting boundaries even with kin to protect our mental health and self-respect. Her story isn't just about a house. It's about breaking free from toxic cycles, about choosing peace over obligation. I'm in awe of her resolve, but my heart breaks for the family ties she had to sever. Why should anyone have to fight so hard to keep what's rightfully theirs? Emily's victory is a beacon. You can stand tall, hold your ground, and still honor love real love like her grandparents without letting it destroy you. Isn't that the kind of strength we should all strive for?